everyone, this channel is called Casual Fandom View, and today I'm going to be talking about this new animated TV series that is called Link Click, and it is a donghua, so it is an animation that was made in China. That is like the word for animation, I believe, in Mandarin. So I'm recommending this on my mainly anime related YouTube channel because I've only ever watched a single other donghua, and that was Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. That is the only other donghua I've ever watched. I watched season 1 and 2, I believe. I think there's only 2 seasons though. That show had a lot of great action scenes, pretty wild, and I feel like fantasy world, you're sort of just thrown into it, and I was greatly confused when I first got into it, but I ended up liking it and enjoying it. Link Click is decidedly very different from that. That is like a historical fantasy, but this show, Link Click, is like a contemporary fantasy, like modern day real life. The show is coming out in 2021, so I'm just assuming it takes place in 2021, and it involves fantasy through specifically time travel, but it's not like other time travel anime shows. It makes the trope a lot more interesting. Usually the time traveler trope in anime involves a singular person being moved in time. So like they'll either be uncontrollably moved in time, like in Erased, where it's like he doesn't know what happened and it's like sort of like triggered by a specific ability and he's just there in the past. And then there is other instances where it's like a strange like either technological thing, which I think is what happened for the girl who left for time. But more recently, Tokyo Revengers is also time travel, in which, once again, a person goes back in time and then they usually want to stop a crime from happening or something terrible from happening from the person they care about. So usually it's about saving a person. But in this case, the show, it's not limited by singular tropes such as that, because it makes it more interesting by having a duo protagonist show. So the character's ability with time traveling is connected. Hence the show's name, Link Click. The two protagonists of this show are linked to one another through their time traveling ability. Guang and Cheng Xiaoshi are the two main characters. Let me know if I butchered their names. I understand that they have a surname and their given name. For the black-haired main character, Cheng Xiaoshi, I'll probably just call him Xiaoshi instead of saying like his whole name, even though I know technically you're not supposed to separate them from what I hear online. Like, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to say their surname and given name together. Otherwise, I don't think it makes sense in Mandarin. But I'm just going to say his given name just to make things a little easier for me because I am butchering these names already and I do not want to add another name to the butchering. I don't think I'm butchering Lu Guan as much because it's a shorter name and I think it's pronounced Guan from what I was looking up. Other than that, I'll probably just refer to them as a duo, so I'll just be like using they, them. Like, they are amazing and I love them and I do not want to butcher their names because I love them so much. They are the two main characters, Lu Guan and Xiaoshi, and they have an ability that connects the two of them together. They have this service or this client service where they advertise to people, I guess either online or through a website, or like they have an advertisement or they just put up posters, I don't know. People come to them for specific reasons because they both share an ability where they can go within a photograph and basically live in that like time, so the time of that photograph, so they could go back into the past of that photograph and change what it, like they could slightly alter what has happened or figure out information that they need from that time, anything at all, but they are paid for it. So it's like they have a client basis, so it's sort of episodic, but usually each episode they help a specific person deal with whatever issue they need to deal with, and they are either given a single photo or they could work with multiple photos because the landlady gives the two main guys, Lu Guan and Xiaoshi, she gives them either a single photo or multiple photos to work with. And Lu Guan, the white-haired character, is I believe the future element. So he looks at a photo and he could see exactly the events that happened from that moment that photo was taken. I sort of see it as like he could see the future of the photo past 12 hours. So he sees the moment photo was taken, the next 12 hours he knows exactly what happens. He sort of sees it in flashes, but he knows exactly what the timeline should be, and he could then tell Xiaoshi whether or not they could be able to help the client in that photo immediately. Like, he's like, do we have a moment to do the thing that we need to do? Yes, yes or no. If they can do it, then Xiaoshi, he is able to go into that photo as the person who took the photo. So he inhabits the body of a person who took that photo for the next 12 hours, and basically they do whatever the client has decided for them to do. Where the conflict occurs, you're probably wondering like, oh, they're just doing whatever goal is set out for them. What is interesting about the show is that Xiaoshi basically inhabits their body. He feels all the feelings that they do. Because of that, he's a lot more sympathetic and empathetic than Guang, who is basically, he's limited. So while Xiaoshi is in the photo, they're connected in that while Xiaoshi is occupying the body of a person in the photo, he is getting directions through telepathy or their mind. They're just talking internally to each other. So it's sort of like exchanging thoughts. And Guang is still in their photo studio, like their house or their apartment. He's sitting on the couch, but he's giving directions in exactly what Xiaoshi needs to do because he knows everything that happens past the photo. So he knows like what everyone says, he knows what's going to happen exactly. So he could basically feed lines or tell Xiaoshi what he can or cannot do, and that is how it works. But that's where the conflict comes in, because Guang is very much sitting on the couch. He doesn't feel everything or experience everything quite as bodily and extremely as Xiaoshi, who is very much attached to the body he's inhabiting and is feeling the emotions of that specific person. So he's feeling the humanity and like relating to them so deeply that it's very hard for him to separate himself from that and distance himself from that. So while Guang can maintain a distance because he's still like on the couch and he's only thinking of what we got to do for the client, basically. So there's conflict from that, and it's also very interesting to see another person's life. When you inhabit another person, you realize how different each person's life is. I guess sort of like Freaky Friday, where it's like you really don't know what it is to be like a person until you're literally with like being them themselves to see how like challenging or hard their life is. So it's sort of that sort of Freaky Friday type of lesson, but it's done with strangers. So it involves a lot of empathy and emotions. What I especially love about the first episode is that you're thrown into the situation, but it is not confusing. By the end of the episode, you're so caught up in this interesting world that you immediately want to see more of it. Also, unlike other time-involved fantasy shows like Erased or Tokyo Revengers, this show has a lot more details in the ability to go back in time. I don't know about you, but the whole going back into time to save a person is a great plot, but it gets old if it's the same dynamic every time. So Tokyo Revengers provides some interest because it involves gang dynamics, but it's still limited to the fact the goal is simply to save a specific person or multiple people if the timeline changes. What's interesting about Link Click is that it's not, oh, we gotta save a specific person, it's we have a specific like client that we're trying to help, and now we are thrown into their world basically, and we're sort of like recalibrating ourselves to this whole new situation, and it's just a lot more interesting and it feels new each episode. Like it doesn't feel overdone or like things are becoming repetitive. But for me, each week I am like on the edge of my seat because I'm like, ooh, what will they do next? What will these two people that are like their abilities are connected are going to be thrown into? Like what more conflict's going to arise out of them where they're butting heads or like not quite agreeing, and I find that is interesting. I love complex relationship dynamics between characters. That is why I really love this show, and also because of the fact that they inhabit a stranger's body just makes it so much more interesting, because it's going to be different every single time, obviously, because every single person's life is different. Like what they do, like whether we're a student, whether we're an adult, it's just going to be interesting each time. The show expresses what it means to be a person and to live a life and feel the emotions of another person's life so viscerally. Each episode pulls so many emotions from you and you just can't help but go back for more. I actually had tears falling from my eyes, like legit actual tears. I usually only tear up, like my eyes get watery and I just feel like a deep sadness in my gut, but this show actually pulled out a physical reaction from me. I'm not the type of person who cries from sad anime. Like another example of a classic sad anime, Anohana, didn't even make me tear up when I watched it as a young teenager. Like I was probably like 13 or 14 or 15 when I watched that. I didn't even cry when I watched that. Given and Banana Fish actually got me tearing up, but those shows also didn't get me bawling in my eyes. Like a tear didn't slide down my cheek from either of those. It just had my eyes watering for Given and Banana Fish because they were sad. The same goes for JoJo Part 5 because sad stuff happens in JoJo Part 5. So usually I only tear up, like my eyes get watery if I actually like feel like a show has compelled me to be sad about something. something? This show, like this animated show, this donghua, actually got me to cry. Like a tear came down my cheek. So I'm telling you all to give this show a chance. It's just that good. It is so amazing. I cannot get over how amazing it is. I want more people to be watching it. I was worried my beginning interest of the show would fade over time, but after an episode that literally had me crying, any worries I had are completely gone. If this show makes me cry like this, I feel like I owe it to the creators to at least make a video recommending it to others. I don't think you should miss out on this, and as much as I enjoy Tokyo Revengers, this show I think gathers up more interest for me personally because it doesn't have to rely on action to pull emotions from me. The lives the characters inhabit and visit briefly for these 12 hours is enough to pull sadness, joy, and so much excitement from you. So please watch this show. The music is so great. Oh my goodness, I can't get over the music. The opening song, I could sing it all the time. It's in English, it's a great song. The opening song is not only catchy and amazing, also there's a literal choreography to it at one point on YouTube. Like there is a choreography video where like an actual choreographer like does the dance in the video. So that actually exists. And in this case, Link Click, they look super cool doing the dance. They look very nonchalant and chill, and they just look very cool. So that is another reason why the opening slaps. I love it every single time. I can never skip the opening. It's just that catchy. The ending song is both in Mandarin and English. The ending song is such a bop. Like, oh my god, that ending song. When the ending song hits at the end of the episode, because I love it when shows do trickle in the ending song before the episode's actually over. Bungo Stray Dogs also does that, where it starts playing a melody before the episode's actually over. So you sort of start feeling like emotions from hearing the song. But this specific ending music, when it plays early, it makes you tense and sit on the edge of your seat. It's like that sort of music where you're like, ooh, some bad shit's gonna happen or something terrible's about to happen. Sirens are like blaring, or I don't know if it's a siren or if it was like a phone alarm sound, but it just sounds really, really like you are on the edge of a seat. It makes you tense up and super excited for the next episode to happen, even though we're at the end of the episode. Like I can't wait another week, but I have to. Like that sort of feeling. Also, the voice acting is incredible. The animation for this show is top tier. It is phenomenal. The background, like, it has like not a watercolor aesthetic, but it's like this illustration, sort of very like pretty looking backgrounds, and the characters are thought-provoking, and I genuinely have a great time each week tuning into this show, even if I end up crying because of extreme feels. So please watch this show. Link Click. It is amazing. You will not regret it.